If you were me, then I'd be you, and I'd use your body to get to the top. You can't stop me no matter who you are!
Yeah. What's up, Doc? Ain't I a stinker?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's good. Not bad. Oh, hey, guys.
Hey, what's up?
No, nothing much. Just doing some stuff. What's up? What do you want?
Part 2, Andy Field interview?
Yeah, what about it?
Well, you said you'd give it to us.
Did I?
Yeah, you did. You promised us to have it next week.
Oh, yeah. Last week with part 1 with Andy Field.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I almost forgot about that. We've been so busy here at CCC making a lot of awesome stuff for you guys, so it kind of slipped out of my head.
That's not true.
We actually have it right here. Sorry about that, guys.
Thank you.
So you guys already watched it last week. You know what's going on. You know what's happening. So I'm not going to sit here and talk, and you have to look at my beautiful, ugly face.
You're
whatever.
beautiful. I love you.
Here you go, guys, for your pleasure, part 2.
Thank you.
Mr. Andy Field.
Bye.
Now do everyone a favor and get out. And so it's
Yeah. Last night I was like, all right, let's go into this interview not looking like an idiot and get some idea of what's going on. So I started searching some stuff, and I'm like, exotic butters. What the hell is with everybody in this butter? So I was like, all right, let's type in exotic butters.
That's
see what that's all
huge.
about. Yeah, it's like that. That's funny too, because I'm pretty sure when you were reading that line, you probably didn't think of all the millions of memes and stuff that would turn into, right?
No, and I can tell you how the meme evolves. So each night is Sister Location, except night 4. I don't speak in night 4. Each night there's a running gag. In show business, there's that term running gag, and the running gag is that I HandUnit autocorrect what you were typing to something that you didn't mean at all, but is hilarious. Which those of us who are over the age of 20 have experienced every time we call the bank or something. When you call the bank, it's like, please press 1, for this, 2 for that. And you press, or say, and you go 3. And it says, I think you want to take out a home loan. Is that correct? And you're like, representative. Try calling back later. Goodbye.
That was my day yesterday with Comcast.
Right? You're just like, I'd rather drive to you.
Yeah.
So on night 1, as you input your name, it says, I say, it seems you had some trouble with the keypad. I see what you were trying to type, and I will autocorrect it for you. One moment. Welcome, Eggs Benedict. So that's which I think is one of the greatest lines of the game.
Is Angsty Teen one of them?
Yeah. So the second night,
that's the other one I heard.
So the second night, and I got the script separately. So when I saw this on the second night, I thought, that's it. I'm done with Five Nights at Freddy's. We've switched the voice, but it goes. Part of making sure you're comfortable in this game is making sure you don't get tired of the voice you're hearing right now. You press 1 for male, press 2 for female, or press 3 for text only. And there's no numbers at all on the screen, and the keys are all doing this. And you can't even hit the key you wanted anyway. So that's one of the fans' big favorite lines. Is at that point, Markiplier was going, "There's no numbers." So you try to type something, and it says, "I see what you were trying to type, and I will autocorrect it for you. Thank you for selecting Angsty Teen." And so you're like, what the? And then and it's a minute or so before the next voice comes on, and it's Jesse Adam is the voice actor. He's one of the few I don't know. And he's like, all right, the elevator stopped, whatever, you can get out. I don't care. And it's just all, all right, let's do our chores or whatever, and so but then a few seconds later, the system glitches and it resets to the default voice, which is me, and I'm back in. And so then on night 3, you could choose your music, and you end up with casual bongos. And then on the 5th night, you've earned your 1-week bonus, which will be given to you in the form of a delightful gift basket, the cost of which will be taken out of your next paycheck. Which that's kind of a running gag too, is that that Freddy Fazbear's is the worst employment ever. You make like, I don't know, $30 a week, and you're gonna die.
Possibly die. Yeah.
You're gonna get fired anyway, and so all that. And so we have, I can't even remember all the gift baskets we offer. We have flowers, fruits, and of course the ever popular cash basket. So of course you want the cash basket, although Markiplier noted that it's going to be taken out of your next paycheck anyway. So you try to type something in, you get exotic butters. So then near the end of the game, you get a secret menu, and there's the little basket of exotic butters. And if you click on it, it's my voice, exotic butters, exotic butters, exotic butters. So Markiplier was clicking on that, and he thought it was funny, exotic butters. And he says, Markiplier's got, I don't know,
remix.
He goes, how long before someone makes a remix of exotic butters? And I'm telling you, it was like
it came up the day after.
12 hours. I mean, there were remixes popping up. There's hundreds right now. If you go to YouTube and search Exotic Butters remix, and there's lots of them that don't even have that keyword in them. Like one of my favorite ones is just called the HandUnit song. And so if you search for Exotic Butters remix, you won't find it. And so they're just freaking all over. And so, of course, when I go to the Comic Cons, you know, the kids come up and I don't know that I've ever signed an autograph that I didn't write Exotic Butters. And, you know, everyone was like, yes, that's what I came for, man.
Yeah.
In fact, if I'm sitting at the Comic Con and they haven't marketed me well, and I see someone walking across who might be a Five Nights at Freddy's fans, and they kind of look over at me and they're reading my poster to say, who's that guy?
Yeah.
I'll just shout across the floor at him, Exotic Butters. And you can see him go, oh my gosh. You think that's you? You know, and it's so there's a lot of great moments.
Yeah, I go to Thomas's VO Mastery down in LA.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Oh yeah, she does a lot of for you guys out there who don't know her, Randy Thomas is a great voice actor. She has this motherly, amazing, heavenly voice, and she mostly does live narration. That's kind of her biggest wheelhouse, the thing that she kind of sells herself on, but she is all around awesome. And she was a great host because I got to go down there for free. I had to pay my way down there, obviously, but I got attendance for free, which was a huge package. And it was November 10th and November 11th, so they were doing a veteran scholar kind of promotion. November 10th was my birthday, and November 11th was Veterans Day, so for me, it was just one big party the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
But it was awesome because you're in the same room as, you know, who was there? James Arnold Taylor, the people at GVAA, Christina Malizia, and David Rosenthal, who, by the way, if you guys want some awesome resources, check out GVAA and their community. Their community is super open and awesome. They have a Facebook group called GVAA Community, and you guys can join it up if you're looking to, you know, learn some free stuff and talk with people about pay and scale and stuff and negotiation tactics.
Did you know Christina is the voice of the laughing cow on that cheese? She just landed that I think last year.
I think I remember that one.
That's her.
Yeah.
Now, Randy, and you were talking about Randy. Randy live announced the Oscars, the Emmys, the SAG Awards, and a couple other things too.
Yeah, like I said, she is a powerhouse for live announcing, and
that
takes a lot of stress when you know that the whole world is listening to you right there on like a 5 to 10 second delay.
Yeah, and there's no mistakes. You can't make a mistake. And there's a lot of flexibility. It's like, oh my gosh, Tom Cruise can't make it to the stage. You're going to have to say such, there's script changes left and right. So, and Tom Kane, the guy who I said voiced Yoda in the Clone Wars, also has live announced the Oscars as well. I mean, it's just, man, live, the 23rd Academy Awards, you know, that guy. And you're just like, holy.
That's tough. That's a tough job too with being a voice actor because, you know, having a mic, having a demo, that doesn't make you a voice actor. Just having an agent, you know, that makes you a voice actor, but there's a mindset to it that keeps you pushing forward, that kind of pushes all the negativity to the back of your mind, that kind of, you got to keep struggling, and it's a hell of a hustle.
Oh yeah. That's the thing I think a lot of people don't want to hear about being a voice actor is that you've got to become a businessman. It's very rare that you pack up and go seek your fortune out west in LA or New York to a smaller degree, and everyone is just so enamored with you and you were so amazing that well-paying work starts flowing into your life.
And I don't know. Do say that, be cautious. There's a lot of people out there that kind of say, "You're amazing, you're brilliant. Come here, I'll give you now $400. We'll get you a demo reel. Give me another $200 for our photographer. We'll get you all the headshots. We're gonna have to charge you $50 a month for our internet fees and our new usage fees to get your name out there and everything. But you know, after $1,000, boom, we're gonna get you auditions. And then you find out you're in a talent roster of 1,000 people. Yeah. So there's a couple talent farms out here in Seattle that are acting like that. That I was like instantly, nope. I'll wait until. Unless you have to audition or somebody seeks you out personally, you gotta earn it.
It's rare, and really it's rare that you just nail that big gig right up front, and that's the secret, But it's like John Bailey's moved out there. Well, John Bailey was the voice of Honest Trailers. He does a lot of great impressions, and there's a difference between impressions and voice match. John does voice match, like. Yeah. I can do a caricature of Christopher Walken. Wow, Christopher Walken, but John can just talk like John can just talk like Christopher Walken going to Walmart. I mean, John is just, he can take these celebrities, and I could kind of imitate your accent. John can completely change the tone of his voice. He's really, really a gifted voice match, not impressionist, voice match. And that's where the money is for that. John could do Josh Brolin. Who does Josh Brolin? Josh Brolin is the voice of, but Josh Brolin is the voice of Thanos for Avengers Infinity War. So what happens is, so let's say we got some scenes from Infinity War that we need to go back and redo. Well, Josh is expensive.
And busy,
right?
yeah.
And busy, right? So we get John Bailey, who costs 1/10 of Josh Brolin, which is still great money for John Bailey. And John comes in, and plus Josh isn't on camera. Or let's say there's a scene where Brad Pitt has he's off camera, but he says something, and we need to go back and redo that scene. Well, anybody can voice match that. Or let's say we're releasing a trailer for the film, and it's way up ahead of time, but Brad Pitt has already gone home from the film. Then we get a voice match guy in there. So there's big money in voice match because not many people can do it.
James Arnold.
I find often I lose my authenticity. And this is an interesting voiceism that I'm just learning about myself. So like a lot of times we get the spec non-announcer. We do not want you to sound like an announcer. We want you to sound like an everyday guy, which is what I sound like now, but I sound like a Southern everyday guy. So when I start eliminating my Southern accent to sound like a Midwestern everyday guy, I start getting more more announcery. And the reason is, I just realized this the other day. I had a friend named Donnie Robinson back in high school. Shout out Donnie. He's listening. He's not. And Donnie and I used to all the time disrupt class with announcer voices. I had no idea that I was ever going to go into this, and neither did he. But, you know, we'd be like, now how much would you pay? Don't answer yet, because if you order today, you'll get a Ginsu knife and a smokeless ashtray. You know, we were just all that, just all the time. You know, and ladies and gentlemen, ladies, all skate, ladies' choice. It's time for the limbo. You know, the guy at the skating rink that always say that.
Yeah.
And so we were just always doing that. Well, that's kind of where I go. That's my imitation of a radio guy. And so when I'm losing my Southern accent, I kind of divert to that. And so I have to fight hard to not be announcy when I'm losing that Southern accent. And that's hard.
I found myself doing that. I was doing some, not auditions, I already related into the role, but it was a really deep kind of thug. And every time I was going deep, I always put like a British, you know, I'm going to get you. But I was like, he's like, no, you're like a New York miner from, you know, the 1920s, you know, and you're not British. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's funny.
Sorry. I'm not hearing it, but it's coming out subtly. And I had to keep trying to find a way to remove that, because I just always felt like it was natural. Like when I was going deeper, I was just getting there. And I was like, okay, don't do that.
And I find on villain auditions, I'm always doing British. And it's just because every evil character you've ever experienced has been British. Think Scar from The Lion King, all the James Bond villains, everybody, right? And so but I know I want to give the voice seeker 2 or 3 takes, and so I'm now trying to force myself, at least on that 3rd take, to just do a normal American voice. But you know, it's so much more fun to say, you know, I'm going to rip out your intestines and hang you with them, you know, as opposed to I'm going to rip out your intestines and hang you with them.
Yeah.
You know, or, you know.
The guy? I'm thinking about the guy who does that voice like this, you know, he's a famous actor. He was.
You sound like the 2 dirty guys from 101 Dalmatians. But that's almost that Cockney blue collar British accent, which, you know, if you're doing a Lexus commercial, that's not the British accent you want, because they want dignified. But if you're doing a character who's a chimney sweep, you know, if you're the Dick Van Dyke character from Mary Poppins, then you're the dirty Cockney accent, which is kind of in America. If you want to be a truck driver, or not coal miner, because there's not a lot of those in the South, but I always go to a more Southern accent when you want blue collar, you want somebody who works hard, you want somebody who owns more camouflage clothes than any other color. Then that's this accent right here. There are people like that in Ohio that don't talk like that. There's rednecks all over Ohio. But my picture of rural, working class, blue collar America is that.
Yeah.
It's Southern. And so I pull that out all the time. And so when I see a Minnesota company who wants commercial for hunters, and they wanted to sound like a working class rural guy. I'm like, well, I know they don't want the Southern accent. This is Minnesota. I'm at a loss. I don't even know how to pull that out.
Yeah, like Minnesota. I work hardy. I bust my butt.
Yeah. I get
Bust
out on
my
my
buns.
when I'm out on my Arctic Cat driving around. Yeah, I just I go down near Thief River Falls and we hunt. We hunt all day, all night, cut a hole in the ice and fish. And I'm like, that's the worst. That's the worst Scandinavian Minnesota accent I've ever heard. But yeah, knowing your region and how to pronounce things sometimes will land you a gig. Or knowing any region. And
man, there's been many times where I've had to go to YouTube. I've had let's pause this recording. Let's stop it actually and go to YouTube for a while. Check out some of these things like technical specs and stuff. Technical specs for like a window commercial or something. I was having to look up the different, like this type of, tackle or block and tackle a.
Dude, was that just the other day? I think I auditioned for that like 3 days ago.
Oh, well, good luck.
There was
like that.
Did you audition for that
Yeah.
just a few days ago?
Yeah,
I remember the block and tackle thing.
it's kind of like a training how to, for the technical installer kind of thing.
Well, I hope you get it. So,
all right. See, that's what I'm talking about with this industry. There's a lot of people from all different.
well, if you were
areas.
ahead of me, I would hope I got it. So,
yeah.
So yeah, there's that. I
Everyone
narrate a
loves an
lot.
underdog.
I narrate a lot for a law school study guide, and so I have to look up the Latin stuff a lot, and I have to look up people's names a lot. And invariably, if I just assume I know how to pronounce that name, the client comes back and says, "No, it's the other way." But like, and then sometimes it's just client preference. Like my client prefers to say quasi instead of quasi. You do like a quasi legal this or quasi. He likes quasi,
Root
so
and
I
out,
have
all those different kind of.
Yeah. In fact, it's funny. The Virgin Mobile commercial. When I auditioned for that, they said we want data to be pronounced data. So I gave several takes in the audition. Only Virgin Mobile lets you divvy up your data however you see fit. That's data done right. Only at Walmart. And so I still remember that. And I did it over and over and over again. Well, then I got to the studio and we had to use ISDN. We did 7 takes, and they said, I think we got what we need. They paid for 2 hours of studio time. So like, Andy, if you just hang out for a minute, but I think we got what we need. Then they come back in and they say, we just realized we want you to say data instead of data. And so I did another 7 takes, and they said, we got what we need. And so then I just sat for 2 hours until they let me go. But it was data and data. So sometimes it's just a matter of, and if they don't say, and you don't feel like you can ask because it's a cattle call audition or something like that, you just have to do what you think. Maybe go back and look at some of the client's previous work, and so it's only Virgin Mobile that you divvy up your data however you see fit. That's data done right. Only at Walmart. And that commercial had Rick Astley in it.
Oh wait, yeah. That's when he jumps out of the cake. I remember I was looking at
awesome, man. It's awesome. So I can say that I voiced what I believe to be the world's largest Rickroll.
Oh man,
because I'll send people a link to that, and they're like, "Dude, did you just Rickroll me? That's crazy."
Never gonna give.
But and he did 2 more commercials with him that I didn't voice. But there's a commercial where the guy in my commercial is sitting at the fireplace with Rick, and they're both drinking tea, and he's like, "So Rick, you're saying you would give me up?" He's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "You would let her down?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." He's like, "Just all for data." And Rick's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Gig," and he toasts him like, "Gig." So,
oh man, yeah.
Because in the commercial, he's giving people gigs of data every time they do something nice for him. Gig, 2 gigs, gigs all around, gigs all around.
So, do you have ISDN or Source Connect capabilities at home?
Well, Source Connect, yes. I'm on Source Connect now, which is free, and I've just decided if anyone ever needs it, I'll just buy it.
That's where I'm at right now too. I just had an audition for a client that I'm like, I don't have regular or premium membership, but I have now, and I tested it out and it works and everything. But if I get picked up for it, then of course I'll sign up for the premium. But
now is web-based, so they can just contact. So like I had somebody wanted to do Source Connect, and I tried to connect, and it all screwed up. And said, "Dude, can you just contact me through now?" And he did, and it worked. There's a thing called IPDTL where you can bridge into ISDN apparently seamlessly. I've got friends saying, "Yeah, I've been on ISDN sessions with people who didn't know that I wasn't on ISDN," and I thought that. So I've met the IPDTL people. I think I had a IPDTL coffee cup that I got from them, and they have like a free. It's like $15 a day if you just want to subscribe for one day.
I'd love to try that out because I've talked to. I called Comcast one time. I called another local internet provider, and I was asking them if they know about ISDN or ISDN services, and they just, we're gonna transfer you to these guys to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I don't even
Good
think
luck.
I don't even think I can get it out here where I'm at because I am literally covered. I'm surrounded by trees right now, and I am, about 40 miles from the nearest actual technical town or city. So.
And then you got to pay like $5,000 for the box, and all that. It's just it's just not worth getting anymore. And really, I've only had a few times where it's been needed. My first big gig ever was a tri-state commercial up in your area of the woods. It was like Idaho, Oregon, and Wyoming or something. But it was kind of in that area. It's a 3-state thing: Blue Cross Blue Shield. Nothing to it. I think it's on my website. It paid huge though because I had like 2 pages of tags, like different phone numbers. And what I've learned now is that, I don't know, every tag might be $15. So, when you've got 200 tags, maybe $15 a piece, that's like $3,000 of going. That's 1-888-467-2983. That's one tag. That's 1-888-298-4613. That's $30 right there that I just made, right? So, so that was my first big job ever. It paid $7,000.
Damn. I just got my first big job actually recently. With, I got signed halfway through last year, actually towards the end of the year last year, with Shortlist Talent out of San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And that's my I was with an agent before, but that was just for on screen, for background extra, and then small featured roles. And I haven't been doing those with them anymore. I was a little bit, just displeased, went another way. But with Shortlist, I got my first actual broadcast, which was Wish, the Wish app, which is, like an eBay store kind of thing, which it's not like eBay. It's better than eBay. It's the Wish app, and it's that was my first actual professional broadcast paying gig. I had to go to Seattle to go to Bad Animal Studios for the production, basically because I didn't have Source Connect, and they didn't. My agent said that if I don't know if I can use it or have it, configured yet, she doesn't want to have that scramble, in the studio for me trying to say, okay, hold on, I'm just testing this out real quick. Okay, can you hear me? Is it good? They don't want to have that, so they just paid the studio for me to go out there, which I'm glad I did, because that's a cool experience going there and meeting people and stuff. And you go to these studios too, and you're like, oh man, I'm seeing these picture frames on the wall of people who've been in the same, who have been standing where I'm standing. I'm like, is that Bill Nye? That's Bill Nye.
Wow.
And be like, oh, it's Christopher Walken over there. Be like, that's a case full of Emmys. I'm like, oh.
So that Virgin Mobile gig, I recorded it in Ardent Studios in Memphis, Tennessee, because they had ISDN. This studio is so big. You think Memphis, Tennessee, it's not a major city of the world. It's a big city, but it's, there may be 1 million people in the metro of Memphis, not even the city limits. That studio has 4 studios in it, each with an ISDN capability. I'm like, what? And that studio is where all of these legendary bands have recorded. So I recorded, only one of the rooms was big enough for a band, and they put me off in the isolation booth of that room. This studio is where Leonard Skinner and Led Zeppelin recorded their live albums back in the early 70s.
Damn.
I mean, it's and many, I mean, their list is like, they're like, dude, have you ever seen the list of who all's recorded here? And they show it to me, and it's just, you name it, they've recorded there. This is Memphis. Elvis didn't record there, but this is the town of Elvis, right? So music is big in Memphis. And I'm just like, and I'm standing in the vocal booth of the room that's big enough for a band. So I know this is the isolation booth where all these lead singers have stood. And I'm just like, and I'm recording Blue Cross. Oh, that wasn't Virgin Mobile. Sorry, that was the Blue Cross commercial. So, so I'm in there, and that poor engineer just had to sit out there for a couple hours, ISDN connects you to another studio, so that the engineers joke that ISDN stands for I sit and do nothing. They just make sure ISDN is connected, and that's it.
I think Steve Miller Band recorded their albums out of Bad Animals. I think that's one thing I remember seeing all those.
Oh, cool.
Those gold and platinum albums on the
nice,
the hallway,
man.
walking towards them.
Steve
I'm like,
Miller, man, they're awesome.
Yeah.
But I recorded my commercial demo via Source Connect Now. So the engineer who did that contacted me from Chicago through Source Connect and connected to me, and from a bathroom closet lined with foam, with an AT2020 USB mic. I recorded that commercial demo. So if you hadn't heard that, it's at andyfieldvoiceover.com, and it's as good as anything out there. It's incredible.
All right,
so going all the way back, favorite cartoon as a kid. Oh my gosh! When I'm old, so when I was a kid, cartoons really only came on Saturday morning, and then later they came on in the afternoon. So like at 3:30, Tom and Jerry came on, and Tom and Jerry was already old when I was like in 5th grade. But we'd get off the bus and we'd try to get in the house by 3:30 to catch the beginning, because you couldn't TiVo it, you couldn't rewind it. It was on. Yeah. It was on. But I'm going to say the cartoon I have the most memories of, that I'm most fond of, is probably G.I. Joe. And I was getting maybe too old for G.I. Joe by that point. But I had the action figures. You're talking 5th, 6th grade, somewhere around there. But they were all just so cool, It was Yo, Joe, and Cobra was always doing their thing. So I really liked them. G.I. Joe. Yeah. Real American hero. G.I. Joe's there. So much so that when the G.I. Joe movies came out, I had to go see them, knowing they were going to be terrible.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I mean, Channing Tatum isn't a bad actor, but there are some things that you kind of see him in that you're like, huh. You know what really disappointed me, though? I brought this up in another interview beforehand because I kind of managed to get into there. Is it the Wachowski brothers? The guys who made The Matrix? They came out with a movie recently, I think, like Jupiter Ascending or Jupiter Rising. Mm-hmm. And it had Channing Tatum and oh my God, Jackie.
Some popular girl, yeah.
Jackie from That 70s Show.
Yeah. I know you're talking about Mila Kunis.
Yeah. It was those two, were the powerhouses of it, Channing Tatum and Mila Kunis, and everybody saw those two in this serious action role by the Wachowski brothers, and I honestly think they didn't give it its fair share, because the Wachowski brothers wanted to make another a 3-part trilogy like The Matrix, an awesome powerhouse that gets remembered for years. But after the first one with Channing Tatum as this like serious actor, everybody either wants to see him with his shirt off or they want to see him serious and crying for a girl. That's all they want.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And I didn't like it as a soldier, because Channing Tatum was a major in the U.S. Army and had a beard. Well, he had fuzz. He was like, I'm just gonna look cool, and I'm like, no, dude, not even the special operators do that. You either have a beard when you're out there, or you're clean when you're in here. But and I went and watched it with Army buddies. It was we had a mandate. We were mobilized in Birmingham, Alabama. We were on active duty, and it was Veterans Day, so we all went out together and we got a free dinner at Applebee's.
Yeah.
And then we went to the Dollar Cinema and watched G.I. Joe. And so the whole night probably cost $10 when you counted tips and like the kiddie tray of concessions and all that. So G.I. Joe's favorite cartoon. What was the next favorite video game?
Yes.
Man, I'm gonna and I got old before video games got big, and so I'm gonna tell you how video games. I remember being very little and watching my dad play Pong on a video game in a hotel, and it was like, look at this machine that has a game in it. And then I was in 5th grade. I was on a trip, and we were in a Kroger in San Antonio, and there was Pac-Man. I didn't even know it was called Pac-Man. I didn't even see the name of the game. Because my dad was walking around shopping in Kroger with my grandparents, I was just looking at this video game, and I was like, wow, I think I could play this. Okay, I see the rules. You got to eat the dots, and if you get a big dot, those ghosts turn blue, and you can eat them for a minute. I got this. And I went and hunted my dad down in the store. And my dad was a cheapskate, kind of like me. I was like, Dad, there's like this big electric game up at the front of the store, and there's like this little guy that eats dots, and I think I could play it. Come on. Right. I think I could play it. Can I have a quarter? And my dad gave me 4 quarters.
And you're like,
you have a different mindset when you're on vacation, right? Let me give my kid 4 quarters. It's vacation. We got money to spend. And so I went and played that thing. Man, it was so fun. But I wouldn't say Pac-Man was my favorite. But I kind of grew up in the days of the arcade. A friend of mine across the street, from my grandmother, his dad owned an arcade, and he had Donkey Kong Jr. in there, and we could play it free all day, but we'd have to take turns.
Oh yeah.
And, so I lose all 3 lives on level 1, and then it's Johnny's turn, and he can get to like level 35 on one life.
Oh, so you're sitting there the whole time watching.
Right.
Man, that's as a kid, there was so many 1-player games that we'd pass the controller to. That's why nowadays with like streaming,
even a 2-player, it's his turn.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's your turn, then your turn, and so Johnny's got like 4 lives at the top of the screen. And now it's my turn to play my second life. Johnny's got 100,000 already, and now it's my turn. I forgot that I was even playing. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So and we got a couple gaming systems. We got an Atari. Actually, we got the Sears brand Atari. And so we had all those little clunky games. Pac-Man was all pixely going thonk, 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 thonk instead of waka, waka, waka.
Oh, yeah.
So people my age are remembering that going, oh, right on, man. I had I played Adventure. I can't tell you how long I played Adventure. And in Adventure, you were literally a pixel. Your character was a rectangle. And that was you and you. But there were some dragons that looked like sick ducks. There were... and you could pick up a sword that looked like a yellow arrow. I mean, the graphics were absolutely atrocious, but you just played them, man. You were just fascinated with this whole video game thing. There was no voices. That took up too much. It took up too much brain power of a computer. Now you can buy that Atari and there's like 30 games in it.
Yeah.
It was that size, but you had to put a cartridge in it, and that was the game, and that's all you could play. That's all it could hold. So now we fit 30 games into that thing. Like there's nothing to it. So I loved games. In high school, the computer games were starting to come out, and so I played Ultima, like Ultima 4 and Ultima 5, I think, and so really dug those. But then college came about, and the gaming kind of took a backseat. There was you played them, but I wasn't big into them. I hate I missed out on this movement, right? This whole culture.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of rose up over the last 10 to 15. I mean, I'd say maybe 10 years. I'd say 10 years for how big streaming and and YouTube and stuff has gotten.
Technology changes so rapidly. So we're trying to wrap this interview up, but let me illustrate to the audience how fast technology is changing. So maybe you can realize how different it's going to be 10 years from now, and you have no idea. So I started college in '89. I graduated in '96. Don't do that math. But I took some breaks with the Army. So in '89 at LSU, I took a computer class. I don't even remember what language it was, Fortran or Pascal or something. It was very similar to BASIC, which was the computer language I learned in high school, all the Apple II computers. And so you had to write a program. There were only 4 computer labs on campus. Luckily, one of them was in my dorm. I would go down to the basement of my dorm, and you would write your program. Now, to prove to your instructor, to turn in your homework, you had to print this program out and hand it to him. There was no email. There was no posted online in a discussion board. There was, here's a dot matrix printout of the 10 lines of code. We didn't call it code back then that I wrote. So you'd write your program, and then through a mysterious combination of keys, probably Control Shift F5 or something, you would send it off to the printing center on campus. It was in another building. And then the next day, you would go to the printing center with your student ID. They would go to a folder and look for you, and they would hand you your printout. Right or wrong, there was your printout. That's where we were in 1989, 1990. By the time I graduated in '96, we had to, this was 7 short years later, we had to provide evidence to our instructor that we owned an email account by sending them an email. We had to post things in discussion boards online. And then my first year of employment, all of us new teachers had to build the district's website using HTML. Okay. I mean, we went from printing on a dot matrix printer across campus to, the computer lab where there was a printer for everybody to use and making websites. And I mean, that was in 7 years. Now go 7 years from 96 to 03. In 03, I'm deployed and everything's being done by email. Everything. And now go 7 years from 03 to 10. Now you're starting to get to our listeners. And where do we go from 10 to 17? I mean, it's just, I mean, YouTube, there were videos that went viral before YouTube, but man, YouTube is one of the great inventions of our time. There's nothing like it. Yeah. I mean, the internet, I would say, but man, YouTube itself, when I taught technology to 8th graders, I would have them, they'd have to say what they thought their 3 greatest inventions were, and they'd have to defend it. And there were a couple of kids who said, YouTube. I think YouTube is the greatest invention of all mankind, or at least top 3. And I thought, you could defend that. That's,
Yeah.
There were kids that said stupid things too. I'd say, I'm not going to say there's no wrong answers. There's some wrong answers. If you say, there was one kid who was like, new and improved football helmets. I'm like, no, that's not a top 3. Not of all mankind. You can't tell me that a new and improved football helmet that reduces concussions is a top 3 invention. The wheel. the internet, the light bulb. There's so much more than that. But
yeah, there was
mind blowing. So okay, we lost track. What was the question? Favorite video game, favorite
video games, and then favorite beer.
We have to edit all this out. I'm gonna say Bud Light. I don't really drink. I mean, I have a 6-pack of, I think, Miller High Life in the fridge right now, and it's been there months, and it's still 6 of them. So it's a tough question, but I will say that throughout college, when I was drinking enough to last most of us the rest of our lives, it was Bud Light. And if I just am in a restaurant or something, like I was at a convention not too long ago, and I ordered a beer at the restaurant, and it was a Bud Light. So I'm gonna say Bud Light. Yeah. I'm not buying into this whole beer movement.
Craft beer, IPA. Is it hoppy or malty?
Nah.
Yeah, I don't know. I grew up in Milwaukee, and that's one thing I loved about Wisconsin is the huge German heritage, sausage, fried food, beer. But the beer out there is all Miller, or PBR.
Or Old Milwaukee. It tastes as great as its name.
Old Milwaukee or Milwaukee's Best.
That's it. What do they call Milwaukee's Best? When I was in college, the Beast. Okay, I didn't know if that was worldwide or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was in college, it's like, we're gonna drink Beast, man.
That's not how you felt in the morning, man. That was.
No, that's But I remember the old Milwaukee commercials when I was little. Old Milwaukee tastes as great as its name. And they're always out there fishing, drinking the old Milwaukee, and some guy will say, it don't get no better than this. And I'm like, okay.
A cool lake breeze. Milwaukee's Best.
They're all out there in hip waders drinking their old Milwaukee. But okay, so favorite beer. What else? What's next?
Well, I mean, PlayStation or Xbox, but I'm not sure if you have an answer for that one.
I have a Wii. In fact, right before this interview, I took a break and I went and played Mario's DreamWorks Superstar Karts with my wife on the Wii. I beat her bad. Yeah. I was the Skipper Penguin on one of them, and I was Bob the Blob from Monsters Inc. No, what's the Pixar or
Monsters
the DreamWorks?
University?
No, it's one where there's like the giant girl and the little blob.
Oh yeah, Monsters vs. Aliens, maybe, or something.
Yes, that's it. So I was Bob in that one. I like being Bob, but my wife was always Toothless, the dragon from How to Train Your Dragon, and I beat her every time. I'm so good.
Yeah, that's one thing I do like about the Wii.
Freaking good.
The Wii is great for the family.
And I have Call of Duty on the Wii, and it's impossible to control.
Oh my god! I tried playing a Far Cry game, first person with that Wiimote. That's weird.
It's so frustrating. I hated the game because I couldn't play it. I got into World of Warcraft. I didn't get into World of Warcraft. I got the 10-day free trial of World of Warcraft. And this was years ago, and our family was so violent deciding whose turn it was. And I was like playing it at work. I was so addicted to it. I said, we're done. World of Warcraft, you're out of my life. Before the 10-day trial was up, I canceled it. So,
I gave that one a try, but there's a lot. I don't know.
I love it. I could play it for the rest of my life. I just love that kind of stuff.
You had to cut ties before it took a hold.
Yeah. I'm just busy, man. Maybe someday when I'm 50 and all my kids are gone, I can set up a man cave in here in the studio and just game all day or game an hour or two a day for research as a voice actor. And I'll tell you this. Here we go. I'm going to make this interview a couple minutes longer. There's a lot of voiceover people out there who will tell you, if you say, how do I get started in voiceover? The first thing they will say is, first take acting lessons. I'm not necessarily of that school of thought. I didn't spend my whole life being an actor, and I'm having to take acting lessons now. But I'm a teacher, and I have 2 degrees in education, and I've taught for many, many, many years, and I'm a big believer in having a meaningful educational experience. And if you really want to learn something, it's got to be meaningful. For example, let's say you want to learn Spanish. How many Americans took 2 years of Spanish and still can't speak Spanish? For example. Let's say you want to play a musical instrument. How many Americans started out in band in middle school and still can't play an instrument? It's because if we start you out doing just the basics, you hate it, and it sucks. Okay, you don't learn Spanish by going casa, right? You got to go speak Spanish. You got to get me some stuff. So if you're going to teach me how to play guitar, and I can't play guitar, at the end of an hour, I better be playing a song that's got 3 chords in it, or else I'm going to go put the guitar up and sell it on eBay and I'm done. Don't tell me I got to play scales for the next 2 months. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm a drummer. I just lucked out and got in band and didn't quit band. But man, that first year when you're going, these are quarter notes.
Yeah.
No wonder nobody can do that. No wonder nobody plays a musical instrument. And so if you tell me I got to take a year of acting classes before I can even consider trying to book voiceover work. So no, I'm going to tell you the first thing is go get you a microphone. Get something where you can hear your voice on the computer and play around. If all you're doing is playing around in GarageBand and you suck otherwise at voiceover, we'll figure that out. But get started. And that's the secret. People say, how do I get started? And I said, the secret is get started. Go to Google and freaking get started. Get something where you can record yourself. Figure out where people are hiring. You know, if you suck, find somebody who will tell you suck.
Yeah.
But saying you've got to go immediately and enroll in some study groups and start finding your inner thespian and eventually, you know, whatever. Now, if you want to go work for Funimation, you got to find your acting chops somewhere along the way.
Oh yeah.
But you can't work for Funimation for a living. Those games pay $200 an hour, and you might get 3 hours, and you might only book 1 gig a year. So in the meantime, you know, I want to be a voice actor. Well, what else do you want to do? Go ahead and get a college degree in something because,
Yeah.
right? So in my class, we're going to talk about how can you do this for real? If you want to pursue your dream of being an anime voice actor, you better be reading some audiobooks or booking some e-learnings or doing some local commercials in the meantime too. Because the secret is the more time you spend in the studio, the more connections you're making in all genres of voiceover. And if you're only spending 2 hours a day in your studio because you have to spend the rest of your time as a teacher or Uber driver or whatever it is you do, you're just never going to get there. So, you know, be a full-time voice actor and in whatever genre you can find the work in, and then start pursuing. You want to go to LA? Fine. I wouldn't go there first. I'd go, you know,
Yeah.
you know, if you're not making if you're not making $30K a year wherever you live, Kansas or Virginia or wherever you are, I wouldn't start heading to LA. And $30K is not enough to make it in LA either.
And even if you anecdotally mention some people, you know, that did it, like living in a van down by the river, you know, you got Jim Carrey, you got Chris Pratt, you know, they're pretty big, but they all started from, you know, living out of their car. But
right.
So did
what
I'll
say to almost everybody is you're no Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
And neither am I, right? So it's you know, you can say, well, Tom Cruise is dyslexic and he doesn't even read scripts. Well, you're no Tom Cruise, right? You know, it's you know,
yeah, you got to be honest in this industry for some of these people too.
Right.
And
yourself. So, John Bailey, I think, is phenomenal. And John's over there, he's hustling. He's doing okay, fine, but he struggled and hustled, and nobody works as hard as that guy. And he did it from South Haven, Mississippi, which is a suburb of Memphis, for years and years and years before he made that move. He slowly built those contacts up. So the class I'm teaching, we're going to talk a bit about that. You know, if you want just techniques on character voice acting, then that's not my class. But if you want to know how to set up your studio, you want to get some recommendations on voiceover, on good mics, you want to talk about when's the right time to go after an agent and how do you go after an agent, we can talk about that because I've had the big LA agents. I've got dozens of agents. I got an agent in Ireland right now.
Damn.
They don't send me. They don't even send me auditions, but I got them.
Yeah.
They might. I mean, I've got, it's those things. What about the union? Should I join the union? If I do, how do I join the union? When should I join the union? And it depends. You live in Mississippi or do you live in LA? How do I join the union? Depends. Do you live in Mississippi or do you live in LA? If you live in LA, the secret is go be an extra on 3 films or for 3 days.
Oh yeah.
A union extra, and then you can join the union. You want to talk about how do I find work? Well, it depends. Where do you live in Mississippi or do you live in LA? But it's, it's all that. And then I am excited about some of my guest speakers. I can't say who I'm gonna bring yet because I don't know exactly, but anyway, it's going to be good. And then part of a class is always just your classmates always know so much stuff.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
there's going to be people in this class who've booked gigs on CCC and on voices.com. And there's going to be people who don't even own a microphone. And they've all got great things to say to each other. And I've learned in voiceover, you bring so many skills from your walk of life. You know things from the Navy that I don't know, that can be equated into how to run a business. Because really, we all become entrepreneurs as voice actors, unless you go to LA and land that big agent.
Oh yeah. Unless you're huge and you got a full-time manager.
Like I got a friend, Mike Brang. Mike Brang tells me, he says, only just now in my career have I gotten to where 70% of my life comes through agents. And the rest of it is me. He says, really, most of my work is agents. But Mike's the voice of Toyota, and that gig alone pays 6 figures.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So, and you know, he's booking $500,000 a year worth of gigs. And you know, I don't know what he makes, but that's a reasonable estimate for what he makes. So, but it's possible to make $200,000 a year from a flyover state. I know a guy who lives in Mexico, makes $180,000 a year. In voiceover, and no one's ever heard of it.
You know what? It's funny because we're talking about all this stuff. You know, when you meet these people on these, through these training classes, then also they are also just as good as a resource as you. You know, I mean, I'm not saying they're as good as you, but I'm saying having them in your pocket as an acquaintance, as somebody you can see, connect to, be like, hey, I know that guy, or hey, what's up? Remember we met here and here? Yeah, you know, all those things are resources. A big skill to have in this industry is also your personality and your being personable and your social skills. And I was just trying to think about how exactly did we connect together? Was it through GVAA? It was on a community group somewhere, I thought.
It's are you in the voiceover collective?
I'm in a few groups, and I remember I kind of felt
it's probably GVAA.
I think
it was on Facebook.
Humbled. Yeah, we were messaging in a group somewhere, and I said something, and I'm just kind of like, well, who is this guy? And I'm like, oh. Okay, never mind.
And see, I still don't think of me as anybody. I've just been in that one game. It's everything else. Everything else is a hustle, man. Like I got a gig I'm going to record today. I got a $250 job today, and it's actually for a client who lives 40 miles away. And so I've been wooing him. I'm like, dude, let's have lunch or whatever. I live an hour from Memphis, Tennessee, and I go through his town on the way. And he's got get this. It's an e-learning piece talking about Navy MWR, morale, welfare, and recreation.
Oh, yeah.
So isn't that funny that we get this connection? So anyway, I'm the male voice on this, and now he's asked me to cast his female voice for it, and he's going to pay me $100 for that. So, and you know, I'm just going to go through my social media contacts and say, hey, ladies, here's casting. Here's, and you know, if you're listening to this, and you're not a working booking talent, you probably won't hear from me because I don't have time to sift through bad auditions. Yeah. I find that when I get 20 auditions from working, booking professional talent, there's still some bad ones in there.
With CCC evolving, since now that we're getting actual professional stuff being booked on there, you know, like video games and a few commercials here and there, we created a new thing for audio verification to show that, you know, you get that little special badge of honor to say that your profile is complete, your audio quality is up to par. The only thing that we don't exactly judge on there, to be fair, is actual acting talent. So there's been a few times where we've kind of gone through and been like, we can't really say too much about their reads specifically because we're not the casting director, you know, and we're trying to stay fair to everybody. But we can say that, hey, your room environment is good. You know, your echo is gone, your mic, your room treatment, everything seems decent, and
that's half the battle.
Here's a golden gem that I know a lot of people will make you pay for. If you live in a small town like me, and I think you do too, Chamber of Commerce. You know, all the different things that they have going on and stuff. I took a free class paid for by the state for business. Everybody who was a business owner there, I met as a voice actor, and
that's cool.
Half of those people, half of those people, I got their cards, and I got all their cards, but half of them became clients.
Really,
for some of their online videos and stuff.
So I need to, and I've been meaning to go into that. The Chamber of Commerce director here is a friend of mine. We're from the same small town in Louisiana, 6 hours away. He's from Natchitoches, Louisiana, and you don't really realize what a small business owner is going to need. I mean, they need their phone systems.
Yeah.
If you don't have a video on Facebook yet as a small business owner, then what are you doing? It's 2017, right? They need a video. Every real estate company Now, real estate videos on the higher end, the people who are selling $10 million properties, those videos are so professionally done. A lot of them don't have voiceover anymore. But if you're local, you know, I will gladly for $200 or $300 for you record 20 or 30 minutes worth of this charming 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom ranch home in the Twin Lakes subdivision. Blah blah blah. You know,
I know a lot of people actually in a lot of those groups that do that. That actually have exclusive deals with local realtors.
That's money, and it's not what you dreamed of when you wanted to be a voice actor. But shut up.
Yeah.
You know, just shut up. You are at your microphone saying things for a living, and when you're done, you're right back there. You didn't have to drive anywhere. You're there. So anything you can do to keep yourself in the studio, the better. Not to mention, you never know when that real estate developer has a friend who has. I'm telling you, it just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. I did my first phone message for last year for just a friend of mine from the Army who owns a CrossFit gym, and we can talk forever. I'm not going to stretch that. I don't want to stretch that story out anymore. But,
all right, man. I appreciate all of your time. This has been an awesome interview. A lot of good stuff and a lot of good stuff and a lot of great information from you.
Well, all right, well, man. I'm glad to help, and I'm out there anytime. Just shoot me a message whenever you want. We're in this. We're all in this together, and always trying to figure out new ways to make it work. So, especially if you don't want to move to LA.
Yes.
So give me a holler anytime, man. And to everybody out there who's listening, I'll just close it out by saying, exotic butters.
Exotic butters.